In the modern world, we are constantly bombarded by distractions, social media, work pressures, material desires, all leading us away from the deeper truths of existence. Most of us yearn for peace, purpose, and fulfillment, but we find it hard to break free from the chaos. What if the secret to true greatness isn't in achieving more external success, but in shedding the very layers that keep us trapped in an endless cycle of discontent? Today, I'll share the story of how one person, let's call him Arjun, embarked on an extraordinary journey to brainwash himself into becoming a great monk, not by retreating to a distant monastery, but by transforming his mind, habits, and way of life. Chapter 1. The Moment of Awakening. Arjun was like many people. He was caught up in the fast-paced rhythm of city life, chasing deadlines, juggling relationships, and constantly striving to attain more. But deep inside, he felt a void. There was a quiet restlessness in his soul, a sense that something important was missing. He had heard stories of monks, peaceful, serene, detached from worldly desires, and wondered, what was their secret? One evening, after a long day of work, Arjun sat quietly in his apartment, looking out at the city lights. For the first time in years, he asked himself the most important question of all: what would it take to be truly at peace? That night, Arjun decided to make a change. He realized that if he wanted to live like a monk, focused, calm, and wise, he would need to start by brainwashing himself, not in a negative sense, but by reshaping his mind to embrace a new way of thinking. It was time to break free from the distractions and false beliefs that had been shaping his life. Chapter 2. The Power of Mindfulness and Presence. The first step in Arjun's transformation was mindfulness. He started small. Rather than rushing through his days, distracted by thoughts of the past or future, he focused on the present moment. Arjun began by sitting quietly for just 5 minutes a day, paying attention to his breath. At first, his mind raced with thoughts, but with practice, he learned to quiet those thoughts, observing them without judgment. He carried this mindfulness into every part of his life. When eating, he savored each bite, paying attention to the taste and texture, instead of mindlessly devouring his meals. On walks, he became deeply aware of the rhythm of his steps, the feel of the air against his skin, and the sounds of the world around him. Each moment became an opportunity to practice presence, to be fully engaged with the world, and to cultivate peace in the middle of a chaotic environment. Through this practice, Arjun began to experience what monks often describe as inner stillness. It wasn't something that happened overnight, but gradually his mind grew calmer, and his sense of disconnection from the world faded away. Chapter 3. The Path of Detachment and Simplicity. As Arjun continued his journey, he realized that becoming a great monk was not just about meditation or mindfulness. It was also about simplifying life. Monks live with few possessions, choosing to focus on what truly matters. Arjun, overwhelmed by his cluttered apartment, started by letting go of things he didn't need. He donated clothes he hadn't worn in years, sold books he had never read, and threw away outdated gadgets that only served as distractions. Slowly, his environment transformed, and with it, his mindset. He also started letting go of emotional clutter. Arjun had been holding on to old grudges, toxic relationships, and feelings of inadequacy. Letting go of these attachments wasn't easy, but as he did, he found that he was becoming lighter, both physically and mentally. He adopted the teachings of simplicity, focusing on the essentials of life: healthy food, meaningful relationships, and inner peace. No longer did he seek happiness in possessions or status. He realized that true contentment came from within, and that he could cultivate it by embracing simplicity in every area of his life. Chapter 4. The Discipline of a Monastic Lifestyle. One of the most challenging aspects of Arjun's transformation was adopting the discipline of a monk. Monks wake up early, follow a strict routine, and dedicate themselves to their spiritual practice. Arjun knew that this level of discipline would be key to reshaping his life, so he set out to create his own daily routine. Every morning before the sun rose, he woke up and meditated for an hour. This wasn't a quick fix. It was a practice of patience and consistency. During these quiet moments, he began to connect with his deeper self, and the world around him seemed to grow more peaceful. In the evenings, he took time to reflect on his day, his actions, his thoughts, his moments of mindfulness, and his challenges. Over time, this practice helped him cultivate a profound self-awareness that allowed him to grow beyond his old habits. Arjun also turned to the wisdom of ancient texts, reading the teachings of the Buddha, the Dalai Lama, and other spiritual guides. With each new book, he gained insights into the nature of suffering, compassion, and the true path to inner peace. Chapter 5. Transcending Fear in the Ego. But there was one final hurdle Arjun had to overcome: the fear and ego that still lingered within him. The ego, that inner voice telling him he wasn't good enough, that he needed to be someone else, kept pulling him back into old patterns of behavior. Arjun began to realize that the root of his suffering wasn't external. It was the attachment to his ego. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, and the need for validation had always kept him chained to an image of himself that was far from the truth. In his moments of stillness, Arjun came face to face with these fears. He learned to observe them without being controlled by them. He realized that true greatness wasn't about being perfect. It was about embracing imperfections and using them as stepping stones toward growth. By letting go of his attachment to the ego, Arjun was able to find freedom. He no longer needed approval from others, nor did he feel the need to prove himself. He simply was. He discovered that in order to be a great monk or a great human being, it was essential to transcend the small self and embrace the larger, universal truth that binds all of us together. Conclusion.